So here's 20 things that I learned after 1 month in Germany. Number one, the plugs in the energy output is actually different. I know people will probably say, duh. Well, you know what? I didn't know this. Being in America, I mainly only traveled around the US or to countries that have the same energy input or plugs as the US. And before 2014, the last time I was out of the country, I didn't have a cell phone. Cell phones are kind of new if you think about them. And it was before 2010 since the last time I was out of the country. So I didn't know any of this. So yeah, I might have blew the socket in my apartment. I tried plugging something in, it was like poof! And I'm like, oh, and all the power in my apartment went out. Yeah. Number two, gas prices. So even though gas is cheap in the US, does not mean it is cheap everywhere else in the world. In the US, I paid maybe around 25 US dollars to fill up my gas tank. In Germany, I paid around 70 euros to fill up my gas tank. Which is probably like around 95 US dollars. That kind of hurts. Food costs. Food costs in the US is so expensive. So even though gas is really expensive in Germany, the food is super cheap. When I say super cheap, I mean super cheap. Number four, drinking in public is amazing. I mean, why can't you do this in the US? We kind of do it in the US still, but we just make sure it's plastic. So this leads into the next two. Alcohol is super cheap in Germany. But I will say, when you're at the grocery store, do not buy the cheapest Polish vodka. I put that mess in the freezer and it froze. Ugh. And then number six, beer is amazing. Just saying. Number seven, even though Germans probably don't think so, the public transportation is amazing. The Germans always complain that it's always late, which is kind of true. But coming from a city that doesn't have any public transportation, it's amazing. Germans refuse to drink and drive. Let me explain. So in the US, we will probably have around 3 beers and still drive. In Germany, if they're driving, they will barely even have 1 beer. If they have 1 beer, it's probably mixed with either Sprite or sparkling water. And if they see you drinking a beer and you're driving, they probably will not get in a car with you. They're like, nope, I'll get a taxi. Very responsible, but also different from the US. The architecture is amazing. I mean, if you never heard of the town Dusseldorf should be one of the cities you should visit when going to Germany. The architecture is amazing. The people are nice. The river, just how the whole city is built. Their city is built around the river, unlike in the US, they will probably build a river around the city. Skyscrapers do not exist. This is mainly because this affects all other property values that are around. So if something was worth something and then you have a taller building, we know in the US, your property value then goes down because of the skyline. Germany has so many laws against this, so there's only a certain height that you're allowed to do. Number 11, you have to open your window when showering. I mean, this isn't something you do in the US. In our bathrooms, we have air vents. I'm actually coming out with a video about that, so stay tuned for that, coming out in 2 weeks. But in the US, we have air vents in our bathrooms, and so we don't have to open a window. If you don't open your window in Germany, you will find moldy patches on your ceiling. So open that window. And this leads into the next one. Nudity isn't really a big thing in Germany. And I know people are like, what does showering with an open window have to do with anything? In Germany, a lot of their bathtubs don't have shower curtains. And so you could be walking past a house and it'll be their bathroom, door wide open, and you see the person showering. And you're like, oh, okay. In the US, that would not happen. In the US, they will probably call the cops on you. If there's kids in the area, you will be registered as a sex offender. Germany, they're like, I'm showering. Everyone has it. Everyone sees it. So what? So the next one is Germans are fun. Germans do get a bad rep that they are stuck up and they can't tell jokes and everything. But Germans are actually fun. If you get them to loosen up to you, they are some of the most fun people ever. This one is actually kind of funny, but I can outdrink Russians. But I will not make it to class the next day. So going back to nudity, can I just say this to all the Germans? Please close your windows when you're jerking off. It's kind of awkward when you're walking past a house and you see people jerking off or having sex. Number 16, Germans go food shopping way more often than we do in the US. In the US, we bulk shop. And so I go shopping maybe once a month for food, whereas in Germany, I would go shopping at least once every couple of days. I was in a shared flat with 2 other guys, and our fridge was tiny, and we all had our own individual shelf, and so I couldn't buy a lot. I had to buy what I really needed, which is good because then you don't waste any food. Germans are super big on saving power and energy and money, really. In my guest home, we didn't have a dryer at all, which was different from me living in the US my whole life and using a dryer. They do use a lot of energy, but there's a difference between using a dryer, getting your clothes out and they're nice and smooth, than having them air dry and they feel crusty and hard. But it's not a biggie. 18 will have to be Germans love their gardens. Like, they love their gardens. 19, hostels are a thing. Being from the US, our view of vacation is being at a hotel, at a fancy resort, and doing everything that's catered to you. Now, you will see me at a hostel wherever I go. And last but not least, the houses are super different. I have a video about the differences between a German kitchen and an American kitchen, so I'll put that video right here for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe.